Over on BBC One now, Andy Crane presents Children's BBC.
In just under 10 minutes, it'll be time for Children's BBC with Andy Crane and his cookie crew.
Here on One in 5 minutes, Andy Peters and Ed the Duck.
Quiet, Ed.
Will be popping up with Children's BBC and the all-new Popeye show.
Starting in a couple of minutes over on BBC One, Children's BBC with Simon Parkin at the helm, getting off to a lively start with Playdays.
Just a reminder too that Andy Peters breezes into the broom cupboard for Children's BBC at 4:10 this afternoon on BBC One.
Children's BBC is well underway over on BBC One. In about 5 minutes, the Australian series starring Kylie Minogue, Fame and Misfortune.
Children's BBC with Simon Parkin, Andy Peters and Philippa Forrester is on the air at the moment on One with Why Don't You?
Afternoon. In just over 5 minutes, Andy Peters takes us through another afternoon of fun on Children's BBC.
In an exclusive interview on Children's BBC tomorrow morning, Andy Peters will be talking to New Kids on the Block.
Over on BBC One, in just over 5 minutes, Simon Parkin will be reading out some birthday greetings and introducing programmes in Children's BBC, including Playdays, which goes to the Y-Bird stop.
And over on BBC One, in about 15 minutes, Simon Parkin will be opening up Children's BBC, starting with Playdays.
Andy Crane's just having his hair fixed ready for this afternoon's appearance on Children's BBC. He'll be here with his entourage in just over...
While here on One in 10 minutes, the Children's BBC menu includes bump, corners, record breakers, served up as usual by Andy Peters.
Here on BBC One, in just over 5 minutes, Andy Peters will be along with Children's BBC. Well, you will, won't you?
Might be.
Well, you better be, otherwise there'll be no cookies for you from the cookie jar.
Oh, Reg!
On One, it's Pinocchio, The Really Wild Roadshow, Newsround and Biker Grove in Children's BBC this afternoon. And Andy Peters will be here in 15 minutes.
Here on One in 5 minutes, Andy Peters sets the...
Oh, yes, yes.
Andy, you're not going to wear that this afternoon. You're not serious.
How dare you, just in a dinner jacket and a bow tie. Get me my producer.
Don't take the mickey out of my dinner jacket.
Get me my producer. I can't work here, I'm sorry.
Oh, my word.
I'm sorry.
As I was saying, in 5 minutes, Andy Peters sets the pace with Children's BBC.
More money, more money.
That's after Bunyip and...
In 5 minutes, Andy Peters will be along with half an hour of programmes for children, including today's birthday greetings, a trip to the Y-Bird stop on the playbus, and another adventure with the lovable Pingu.
On BBC One this afternoon, Children's BBC gets underway at 4:10 with a new series in which we meet the cartoon character Joshua Jones.
Here on BBC One in 15 minutes, our afternoon continues in the amiable company of Andy Peters and Children's BBC.
Starting on BBC One shortly, the 10 o'clock news, and that's followed by Children's BBC with Philippa Forrester. And in Playdays, it's the 10th stop.
Of course, don't forget there's more entertainment from Children's BBC later this afternoon over on BBC One with Andy Peters starting at 3:50.
After the news, now on BBC One, Children's BBC with Philippa Forrester includes Playdays.
Children's BBC is up and running on BBC One now, hosted by Andy Peters.
Zoe Ball delivers the birthday greetings and catches the Playdays bus at the 10th stop. Children's BBC in 5 minutes.
CBBC gets underway on BBC One with Andy Peters, Philippa Forrester and Toby Ansters opening up the new year in 10 minutes.
Over on BBC One in a moment, Chris Jarvis and Children's BBC beginning as ever with Playdays.
Andy and Ed will be here in 10 minutes to launch us into Children's BBC, starting with Pingu.
Chris Jarvis is here at 1:20 with Children's BBC and the Brollies.
Children's BBC with Chris Jarvis begins in half an hour, here on BBC Two.
Children's BBC comes to BBC Two in just under 15 minutes, with Philbert the Frog, followed 5 minutes later by The Adventures of Bozzie B and Friends.
Over on BBC One now, there's another busy schedule for Children's BBC, whose programmes this morning include Fame and Misfortune, Why Don't You, and Playdays.
Children's BBC is underway on BBC One at the moment. Kylie Minogue is in Sam in Fame and Fortune, followed by a record-breaking attempt to topple 1.5 million dominoes in a Record Breakers special. And then Playdate.
Children's BBC this afternoon on One with Andy Crane begins at 3:50. Barney's first off, followed by A Bear Behind at 4. And then 5 minutes later, Fantastic Max. Happy Families, based on Alan Alberg's books, begins at 4:20 with Master Barnum the Baker's Boy. Brave Star marshals the galaxy again at 4:35, news rounds at 4:55, and Blue Peter begins at 5:05.
And if you can't wait until then, you can catch Simon Parkin in the hot seat this afternoon on BBC One with Children's BBC, starting at 3:50 with a bump. Then at 5 to 4, Corners with Sophie Aldred. Grandpa visits the Jetsons at 4:10, and at 4:35, the Big Bear, Gentle Ben, comes to the rescue. Newsround is at 5, followed by more tales in and out of school with the kids from Grange Hill.
And if you can't wait till then, Simon Parkin will be along with Children's BBC a little later this afternoon with Rupert Bear at 4:10, Yogi's Treasure Hunt at 4:15, and at 4:30, Expo visits the Old Royal Observatory in...
And there's something to keep you awake this afternoon on BBC One as entertainment for children continues in the company of Andy Peters, who gets the afternoon underway at 3:50 with an unexpected arrival for Lindsay and Boz in A Bear Behind. There's music and fun in the Pigsty at 4, followed by The New Lassie at 4:10. The Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles fight another day of crime at 4:35. Newsround is at 5 to 5, and then at 5 past, Judi Dench and Michael Williams continue the futuristic drama The Torch. A host of entertainment from Children's BBC this afternoon on One.
Don't forget though, Andy Peters has plenty more in Children's BBC over on One, starting at 3:50 with Opposites Attract, followed by Super Ted at 4 o'clock, and another trip to the incredible Dream Zone at 4:15 with Potsworth & Co. Tony Hart is back with Gabrielle Bradshaw and a new series of Heartbeat at 4:35, and then at 5:10 after Newsround it's Back to School with Grange Hill.
Children's BBC on One this afternoon gets underway at 3:50 with the nature series Opposites Attract, when a tiger cub gets washed behind the ears and some collies explore the garden. Spooky cartoon action in Funny Bones at 4 o'clock, then some more laughter in the science fiction series Space Vets at 4:05. 4:20, the Chipmunks go off their separate ways to take up very strange careers. Then at 4:35, Tony Hart is joined by Gabrielle Bradshaw for more ingenious picture-making in Heartbeat. Newsround at 5 is followed at 10 past by Geordie Drama when Byker Grove returns for a new series, and Andy Peters will be at Byker Grove to present Children's BBC.
I'd love a go at that. Children's BBC will be back on BBC Two at 10 o'clock this morning with Playdays, and I hope Josie's feeling better today. Christopher Crocodile and Spot are on at 2 o'clock this afternoon, and don't forget the main chunk of Children's BBC today beginning at 3:30 over on BBC.
And starting tomorrow at 10:25, we have a new weekday series for younger viewers when the Play Bus gets into gear. Each day, pulling up at a different stop to meet a variety of people, puppets, animals and toys. And you can meet the new presenters of Play Bus on Now On 2.
The Play Bus is on its way to the playground stop on BBC One now as part of Children's BBC.
Tomorrow afternoon at 1:20, we have another adventure with the Brollies.
Tomorrow we follow the adventures of a boy called Harry and his friend the Thundercloud in the Brollies. That's at the same time, 1:20.
Tomorrow lunchtime, there may be stormy weather ahead, but fear not, the Brollies will be here on 2 at...
Tomorrow afternoon at 1:20, The Adventures of Spot. On Monday afternoon, we'll be flying down to Pigeon Street. That's our programme for younger viewers at the same time, 1:20.
Tomorrow at 1:20, there's another adventure with that fast-talking, crazy-walking clown, Charlie Chalk.
Viewers, PC Pinkerton pops up on patrol at 1:20. 1:20, swiftly followed at 1:25 by Penny Crayon for a coloured-in cartoon.
We'll be joining that ever-busy bear, Rupert, and his animal friends in 10 minutes.
And there's another programme for younger viewers over on BBC One in 15 minutes when Bunyip celebrates his birthday.
On BBC One at the moment, CBBC is well underway as the Swamp Thing prepares to invade the screen.
And there's more furry fun with Henry's Cat this coming Monday lunchtime at 1:35.
Tomorrow afternoon at 1:20, Green Claws gets a musical present and after some hard practice manages a tune or two.
There are monster tales from Loch Ness on this BBC video, which is available now. And more fun with the Family Nest tomorrow at 1:35, following Forget-Me-Not Farm at 1:20.
These 4 Playdays activity books are packed with games, stories and things to do. They're published by BBC Books and are available now through bookshops.
And the quest to escape from Jupiter continues in this new BBC book.
And there are more adventures with Okie Doke and his friends in these 2 BBC children's books, available now.
Follow the adventures of Sean and his friends in this new BBC storybook.